and I look at my wallet and everything's gone. All my crypto, all my NFTs. I've lost more money than most people can handle. And that's what Elon wants people doing, is spending as much time as possible. You're just spewing horseshit in order to get attention. People will be able to detect you're being a phony. Unbelievable weekend, historic weekend. It was, if you're a content creator, it was as fascinating. I mean, if you're anybody, it's as fascinating a weekend as it gets, but especially if you're on X and on the internet, man, it was some weekend.
Right? We can come to that in a minute because that was nuts. But
Yeah.
first of all, you've been away for a bit. You've been to Greece and the Mediterranean. Like, before we get into all of your work, I'd love to just get a sense of uh, how you're feeling right now. Are you refreshed, and what that means to you as one of the more intense creators in the space? You know, like you create content every day consistently, same kind of time of day. So I'd love to get a feeling for like what that break was like for you, and how you're feeling now.
Yeah, I'm feeling really good. It is intense. It's intense when you go, I've really gone all in on X over the last couple years. This started as a side hustle for me, and this turned into, my main thing, my life basically. And
Uh-huh.
for at least for me, I do need breaks. I can't just grind 24/7. I'm not built for it. I'm built for going all in and then break, and then all in and then break.
Yeah.
Sprint rest. And so, yeah, I've been in Greece the last couple weeks. Just got back, and I feel great, man. Greece was my favorite country I've ever visited.
Really?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
beautiful, beautiful.
it's beautiful, right? Great food, great people, great climate. It's yeah, it's pretty insane.
It's the type of food that you don't get tired of. Like, I went to Spain earlier in the year, and no offense to anyone from Spain on here, but after a few days, I was tired of like the fried cheese and tapas and all that. I need a little
Yeah.
mix it up. Greece, I was there for 12 days, didn't get tired of the food once. I could have kept
It's a
going for the
really
whole
good
week.
point, actually. It's super refreshing and like wholesome. Yeah, I agree. It's beautiful. So you talk there about that, like, a real sprint and then a break, and a sprint and a break. Where did that come from? Like, where I'm just trying to get a sense of, because I know your business is 1% better, and I am just trying to get a sense of like how you conduct yourself, how you ready yourself as a content creator, and then what your kind of process looks like.
Yeah, I think this came from the 2 years where I was doing this alongside my job. So I've been in tech the last 11, 12 years. Uh, my last job I was in leadership. I was leading a team of technical consultants at a major software company. And I started writing as NFT God on the side. So I was NFT God for a couple years before I switched up and doxed.
Yeah.
And I would, work. It wasn't a 9 to 5. It was more of an 8 a.m. to an 8 p.m. I'd work 8 to 8, and then I would, for 3 to 4 hours after, write tweets, write newsletters, write threads as NFT guide. And so I got into this routine of sprinting, is going as hard as possible as I can, and then taking a break for a little bit because I'd become close to burnout. And so it came from having to build this on the side of a 9 to 5. I did not come from money, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it. So I really had to maintain
Fortunately.
my job for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, I am in the same position as you there, and I think it's super, credit to you in the sense that you managed that job. You then had the brand that you built around the mutant, I think it was. Was it a
Yes,
board ape or a mutant ape?
I
That's
still
right.
got
And
it. Still got the Mutant Ape.
have you?
I held it from 10,000 to 150,000 back to what's that now? $4,000. So yeah,
Wow. There you go. Round trip.
they call
Um,
me fake. They call me a fake crypto guy. No, 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 no. I've lost more money than most people can handle on this shit.
yeah. You and me both, man.
Yeah.
But I so 9 till 5 running the NFT God account, and then obviously there was a moment where, if you don't mind talking about it really quickly, there was a moment where that went really south, right? You had this exchange with someone, or you wanted to download a piece of software which ultimately compromised your laptop, and a whole bunch of shit, really kind of like, well, you can probably tell it better than I can.
Yeah. So I what was it now? 2 years ago now, year and a half ago now, I went to play a video game. I had a friend. He doesn't really talk to me anymore. I had a friend who reached out to me and was like, "Yo, do you want to play this video game with me? I'm thinking about maybe streaming it. Do you want to stream this game with me?" Me,
Got you.
I've been a gamer my entire life. I've always dreamed of being like a famous streamer. Part of the reason why now I stream is like I just like I just it seems like such a glorious lifestyle being a professional gamer. And
Yeah.
so I'm like, yeah, let's do this. This could be my entry to like video game streaming. This is awesome. And so I get the game. He's like, okay, to stream, you need to download the software ODS. I'm like, okay, let's do it. I
Yeah.
Google ODS. I click the first link. What I didn't realize was the first link was a Google sponsored link. I didn't
Ah,
know. I didn't see the word sponsor. It's like really small. So I
paid
click
link.
it. I want to get into the game. Click it. Seems like a perfectly normal site. Download. Software downloads, double click the software, nothing happens, double click it again, nothing happens. I go, okay, I don't know, maybe I'm just not born to be a streamer. I
Right?
go to the ferry to pick up my girlfriend. I On the way to the ferry, I get a text on my phone. Hey, someone hacked your Twitter account. What's going on? And I'm like, what? And I check my Twitter account, and there's like a tweet that's like a drainer link tweet, like, oh, check out my new crypto. I'm like, all right, delete. Deleted the tweet, changed my password. I caught it like 2 seconds after it went out. Thought I was safe. Pick her up, get back here. She starts making dinner. I'm sitting on the couch, and I get a text from a friend like, "Whoa, you sold your ape?" And I'm like, "What?" And I look at my wallet, and everything's gone. All my
Oh
crypto,
man.
all my NFTs, like $200,000 worth of assets gone, all gone. And I'm like, oh, well, that stinks. That's bad. That's not a good thing. And it
No.
turns out that it turns out this malicious software they bought a Google sponsored link. They built an ODS website that looked exactly like the official one. And when you download the software and run it, it introduces a backdoor to your computer, and they just went on my computer and went into all my accounts. They hijacked my newsletter, which is the main part of my business, and started sending out drainer links through my newsletter. Hijacked my Twitter, stole my everything out of my wallet. Everything on my computer was nuked. It was a little
Unreal.
stressful. Yeah.
And yet you still were able to turn, you know, a pretty a pretty big disaster into relative success, right? So then fast forward, I'm just trying to speed run so then we can get up to a little bit more about like looking forward and what's going on with you right now. So speed run that next 2 years, and here you are, Alex Finn, not Alex Finn X, not mutant ape any longer, and like running shit when it comes to X. Tell me a little bit more about what that 2 year process has been like.
Yeah, so the hack happens. I kind of write it into my narrative, right? When I create content, I really want to tell a story, and this really fit into my story. This really felt like the next chapter of my story. Any great narrative, the hero doesn't just go in, defeat all the bad guys, and is victorious. That's a really boring narrative. The really
Yeah.
good narratives are when the hero goes on a journey of self-discovery, hits some failures and recover. And this felt like the next logical step in my narrative. Like, this is my failure. And so I wrote it into the story I tell through my content. And then come the next August, so that happened in January 2023. Come August 2023, I have a big tipping point, a big kind of victorious tipping point where Elon releases the algorithm code for X. I have a background in computer science. I'm a programmer. I immediately go through the code, immediately write, content around it and a thread around it, post it on X, and it goes hyper viral. It gets millions and millions of views. Elon replies. I get engagement from Mark Cuban. I get engagement from a ton of the people I really admire. And it basically overnight changed everything, this tipping point. It changed the way people view me. It changed my audience. It felt like the moment that I burst through the kind of Web3 bubble and became exposed to a massive audience. And it changed everything. And so for a couple months after that, I really leaned into that. I discovered, okay, people are really interested in creators who can take technical concepts and make them really simple and easy to understand. And so I really leaned into that. I leaned into taking really complex technical topics, making it easy to digest, and putting my own entertaining spin on it with my personality. And so that got me to the point of October last year where I'm like, okay, I think I'm hitting this point where people are a little scared to follow an NFT god. That's just
Mhm.
overall an obnoxious name, calling yourself God, which
Mm,
it was, I think it worked for me early on to like get attention. Like, who the hell is this guy calling himself God? But I think it hit a point where it was limiting me in a way where it was like, one, the general public's turned off by the term NFT. They
for
just
sure.
are. Like, that's just, we in Web3 have to face that fact.
Yeah.
It's the reason why for Oak Show, was it NFT morning turned into Web3 morning or something like that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
People just don't like the term NFT. And
yeah.
then I was calling myself God, and people were just like, dude, you sound like a douche. And so I'm like, screw it. I'm going to bet on myself, and I'm going to make it my name, and I'm going to be myself, and I'm going to bet that myself can be bigger than this persona I made up. And
I
so
love
I
it.
made the switch, Alex Finn.
There's a couple of things you touched on there, and I wanna cover them both. The first one is this idea of a viral post allowing you to break out of the narrative that you're in. And the second one is about you being able to break down complex technical algorithm and essentially give people digestible kind of like hacks in terms of improving their performance either on X or in another technical capacity when it comes to being a content creator.
Hmm.
I'm gonna first touch on the the technical bit, which is, was there like a light bulb moment for you when it came to your strategy around X? And I'm talking specifically around this thing. You talk about it a lot for smaller accounts, the reply guying side of amassing an audience. Was there a light bulb moment when that happened to you? And what was that like? What was that moment like?
Yeah, I very early on discovered that like if I learn things and then immediately share what I learn in a very simple, interesting way, people like that. And so, as I was early on as NFT God, I was writing like threads about NFTs and crypto and Web3 and all that. And they were doing well because no one else was really doing that at the time. There was no one else writing threads on crypto. So I was doing that. That was going well. And then I'm like, okay, this is working well. I'm going to write like a thread on what's working well for me when it comes to writing about crypto. And so I like wrote about that, talked about what was going well on my growth journey, and that
Mhm.
performed really well. It performed better than my crypto content. I'm like, okay, I'll keep this going. And then, I started experimenting with different growth strategies on, it was Twitter at the time. And, I did reply guy stuff. I created lists of accounts that I wanted to network with. And at the end of the day,
Right.
reply guy is just another term for networking. It just rhymes and sounds really nice.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I started discovering like, wow, okay, networking through outreach is really powerful on this platform. And
Yeah.
so I started writing content on that because I was learning about that as I went. And I discovered that like this was not only just getting a lot of attention and reach and engagement, which is obviously very important on social media. But it was even more importantly, it was building me a community. It was building me people that were like really, really pumped to read what I had to say next and actually listen to what I had to say and implemented it and came back and gave me feedback. And like, there's a very big difference between, there's a lot of people that just like write hot takes and content with the express purpose of pissing people off. Like that's
Mhm.
they're like, ooh, I just got a big dopamine hit from pissing people off. I'm gonna keep doing that. And yes, that might get you engagement, but that doesn't build you a community. That doesn't build you a group of people who are like, ooh, I need to see what this guy says next because I so deeply believe in it. And it doesn't build you that following, that community. But sharing positivity and what you're learning and education and helping others, that not only gets you that dopamine hit from the engagement, which everyone's craving, but it also gets you a community of people who want to come back and listen to what you have to say, who buy into your brand, who buy into your image, who think about you as they're going around their day. That's the gold mine, right? The gold mine isn't pissing off the internet. The
Uh-huh.
gold mine is getting a group of people that are diehard for you, that want to hear everything you have to say. And that's what I really discovered through reply guide content and networking content. All that is like, this is not only getting me that sweet dopamine hit of engagement, this is getting the people that ride or die for me.
This is fascinating. Like, okay, I'll tell you something now. 10 days ago, I subscribed to your X, by the way.
Thank you.
And I've done it now for about a month. And for the first couple of weeks, I just kind of like observed, didn't really change anything about what I was doing. And 10 days ago, I made a decision. I was like, right, fuck this. I am going to I'm gonna do what he says. I'm gonna try it. And I'm gonna do it carefully. And there's been a moment for me. Okay, so in 10 days, I've gone from having somewhere between 800 and 2,500 impressions a day via the tweets that I'm posting, tweets, via the posts that I'm posting to an audience that I've amassed over like a 3, 4 year period that's very, very heavily involved in crypto, NFTs, Web3. Okay. I've got 10,000 followers. And what I've decided to do is I've actually decided to I've workshopped this and I've like, right, what am I interested in? What do I know things
Mm,
about? Where is my um where is my expertise? And I came up with a bunch of like pillars, one of them being sport actually, and soccer and or football, and the fact that the Euros was happening and it finished yesterday, concluded yesterday. I was like, I've followed football my entire life. I know loads about football. I'm gonna go and engage with big accounts who are involved in sports science, who are thinking about sports psychology, and who are commenting regularly on what's happening during the matches. And I'm going to try and do some funny stuff, and I'm going to try and just but I'm going to try and be insightful in every comment that I make. And my impressions have gone from 800 to 2,500 to like between 20,000 and yesterday 170,000
wow.
impressions. And today I'm already on 70,000 impressions, and
Wow.
I've just replied to like 2 or 3 things. And what I've realized is there is this distinct difference, and you just spoke about it a moment ago, which is being an asshole and getting impressions because you just rile people and they cannot help but reply to you, or being an asshole and people kind of like you're saying the thing that everyone wants to say but doesn't necessarily have the confidence to say, so they like your post but they don't
Yeah.
necessarily engage with you, and creating insightful content that people want to follow, and like and then it transfers from you being the reply guy to someone's content
Hmm.
because their content gets lots of replies and impressions, to you being the account that gets lots of impressions. And I haven't made that transition, so I've got like 170,000 impressions a day suddenly, or let's say 100,000 impressions a day on an average. um my following count has gone up by 30. People aren't following me because actually what I'm doing is I'm just saying things that are a bit spiteful and a bit spiky because I know I'll get the reaction I want to get, and I'm good at getting that reaction. But I haven't thought, okay, well now what's the transfer? Like, I'm this guy who for a period of time has been heavily involved in crypto, web3 content creation around NFTs and projects, etc. Now I'm trying to reply guy my way to get a load of impressions, to get acknowledgement on X because I, like you, believe it's the platform worth investing my time in.
Hmm.
But I can't transfer that peak in impressions into followers and the community around it. And that's the bit where I'm like, you have tapped into something, and I'm curious to know, like, that's the light bulb moment I'm looking for. Like, when did that moment occur, and how did it feel? Did you suddenly think, shit, I've got the I've cracked it, or like, how has that process been for you?
The light bulb moment happened before I ever even put a tweet out on X, to be quite honest with you. So
Right,
I came from, as I said before, the tech side. I was on a lot of different teams. I experimented a lot in my career. I was on like a tech sales team. I was doing a lot of things. And I took my lessons learned from my career and immediately implemented it on Twitter and X.
right.
And it immediately worked. Things like Reply Guy. What is Reply Guy? As I said it before, it's networking, but what it really is cold outreach. That's what the Reply Guy is. And when you're on a sales team, you need a mixture to succeed of consistent outbound and consistent inbound, right? And Reply Guy is your outbound. and then your content is your inbounds, right? Your content gets placed on people's feeds, and that's what brings people to you, inbound. And so I took my lessons learned of outbound, inbound, immediately started implementing it on X.
Yeah.
And then I also have a funnel. When you're in sales, you think about your different funnels, right? And when you're in sales, your funnels can be top of the funnel is like a landing page or your advertising. And then you go deeper in the funnel, people sign up for an email. And then a step further down the funnel is they call you to get on a demo. And then a step further is like a closing sales call. Like that's your funnel. And I
Hmm.
immediately thought about, okay, what's my funnel on Twitter? And my funnel was reply guy, my content, spaces, live streams, my newsletter, and then a product I'm selling. And I just immediately implemented that lesson of the sales funnel into my Twitter. And so it just, I had this light bulb moment way before. Okay, I'm going to reply guide. They're going to come see my content. I'm going to ask them to sign up for my newsletter, and then I'm going to sell them a product. And so the light bulb moment for me was way before. I just started implementing all my lessons from the last 30 years into what I was doing on Twitter, and it worked.
Was it difficult to give yourself permission to go from being NFT god and that being a significant proportion of your content to then being the guy that started to appreciate the algorithm a little bit more and was able to share that success? Like, did you suddenly think, I'm saying things to an audience that isn't necessarily interested in, like, was there concern for you a moment that you've grown a community because of a hype cycle in the NFT space, and now you're creating content about something which is nothing to do with that cycle? And was that a difficult conscious decision to be like, no, this is the direction, move in the direction, Alex, don't worry about the sound around you?
It was a conscious decision. It actually started before the algorithm thread. I said, my dreams and my goals as not only a content creator, but just as a businessman and human being as overall is I want to be globally known. And if I'm just like the biggest in Web3, I think Web3 is going to keep growing, but I don't think that is going to allow me to be globally known. And so I wanted to expand past that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to just solve Web3 problems. When I say globally known, I'm not saying I want to be famous. I'm saying I don't want to just solve Web3 problems. I want to solve global problems. I want to solve problems for everybody across the world. And so I thought if the only way I'm going to do that is to be able to, I have to create content that solves problems for everyone, not just Web3 people. So I made the conscious decision that I wanted to slowly peel back a little bit and make content that still is interesting for Web3 people because they're my core audience. I don't want to alienate them, right? By all of a
Hmm.
sudden hard pivoting and talking about whatever, right?
Yeah.
I just wanted to layer up a little bit where, Web3 is still there, but now I have this other layer of other people that my content is interesting for. And so I did make the conscious decision to go higher level, but I also wanted to kind of thread that needle where the content I create is still relevant for Web3 people, despite the fact I'm not talking about Web3. And I think I've been able to successfully do that because if you look in the reply section in my tweets, it's still NFT profile pictures all the way down the board,
Yeah,
mixed
yeah.
in with
And
real
in your
life.
spaces.
Exactly. In I do spaces and they get 10,000 people in it. And you look at the people on the stage and there's NFT profile pictures and there's
Hmm.
real life
Hmm.
human being profile pictures. And so,
Yeah.
I really attempted to thread that needle. I think I was able to successfully do it because at the end of the day, what is Web3? It's a bunch of people trying to get attention and get rich. Like that is Web3 at its core. People trying to get attention and get rich. That's it. That's what Web3 is on X. And
Hmm.
so my content I'm creating still caters to those needs of getting attention, right? Reply guide, networking strategies, things like that, and getting rich. Me talking about how I built my business. I'm
Hmm.
just instead of giving that message through NFTs and crypto and telling you what crypto tokens to buy, I'm now instead doing it through what I do now, which is entrepreneurship, technology, growth, networking. I'm giving you the same value, but just through a different vehicle that is
Yeah.
also interesting to a larger audience.
It's interesting that you talk about solving problems. And obviously Rug Radio, I work for Rug Radio, and this will be a Rug Radio podcast, is doing the same thing. It's looking to solve the problem of media and distribution of information, and in fact, like data ownership, those kind of things. I'm I'm curious about your opinion if we can move over into that side of things right now. Like, and this weekend is a prime example, and I think it gives us great case study. There was an attempted assassination of Donald Trump this weekend,
Mhm.
and immediately some of the mainstream media published, I would say, content that would suggest that they weren't convinced that there had been an assassination attempt, or they were trying to, they were kind of sitting on the fence about whether that was what had indeed happened or not.
Yeah.
And then there was a whole load of content created by credible people who sought, it would appear, the truth and were able to share it. And I think Elon did a tremendous job of giving credit to those people on X and saying this is a platform where you can do that.
Yeah.
And let's not beat around the bush, Alex. There was also a whole load of bullshit misinformation that was spread on X, as there continues to be, and conspiracy theory and all this kind of stuff. What's your view on media and the distribution of content and truth and misinformation at the moment, and the culture that is being built around that subject?
You gotta have 2 sides to the argument, which is you have kind of the traditionalists that are like, "We need to trust media. They have they check the truth most. They have the most professionals and resources to make sure we get the truth." And then you have the other side, which is kind of the hyper citizen journalist X side, which is, "No, we need to decentralize things, have anyone be able to say whatever they want so we can
Mm,
figure out for ourselves what the truth is." I'm somewhere in the middle. I think the traditional media lies in a lot, but I also think citizen journalists lie a lot. Like you go on X, and I'd say, and I love X, I'm all in on X, but I'd say a majority of what you're seeing on X is conspiracy theories, made ups. And listen, there are a lot of conspiracy theories that turn out to be true. But
sure.
if you believe everything you read on X, you're going to believe lies, right?
Mm,
Citizen journalism does not mean you're getting the truth. A lot of times citizen journalism is just people looking to get attention, so they say whatever they can to get that attention. That's what
yeah.
citizen journalism is a majority of the time at the end of the day. And so um I view X as a very positive thing on this world. I don't believe it to be the solution to mainstream media because, again, as you said, mainstream media, you go on CNN, the headline was like Trump recovers after a fall or
A
something. Like
fall. Yeah.
absurd. Just such clear. Am I allowed to curse?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Such
yeah, yeah.
clear bullshit, just like
Yeah.
bullshit, right? And but at the same time, you go on X and you did through all the muck get the truth. You got the videos the moment they were released. You got the truth the moment it was released. You just kind of had to wade through some citizen journalism bullshit.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
You have to you know really build your sensor of what am I reading that is just people trying to get attention. You had the people going, oh, this is all a setup. This was all, this is fake. Trump staged it himself, which is lies. But if you believe everything you read just because it's citizen journalism, you're going to believe it. And
Mhm.
so the answer is somewhere in the middle. We need X. X is a big solution to mainstream media, but we
Yeah.
need a solution on top of that, which is like, how do we wade through all the lies and misinformation that citizen journalists are giving? I think community notes are a big part of that solution. I don't think it's
Huge.
perfect. There's still a lot of lies through community notes.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we are reaching an age where it's more important than ever for people to be able to think for themselves, to be able to discern what is truth and what is not, to discern, is there enough sources behind this for me to trust it? Because I don't think until we make some sort of perfect AI that can determine the truth, we'll ever have a perfect system of figuring out what the truth is.
I wanna then thread that immediately into your view of, so you're advising people, or you're giving people some education in terms of how to create content with an authentic voice that
Yes.
leans into their strengths, that builds a community for them, with them, that they can go on to monetize. What percentage, you'd have to give me a percentage. How much of the content you're creating around that narrative is based on truth, is based on people trying to create content that people can trust and that people can rely on, versus being an entertaining, like, attention hoover, a vacuum, if you know what I mean.
A big part of my message is authenticity and honesty, and if you're authentic and honest,
Hmm.
you're gonna have a really, really strong reputation. And if you don't care about your reputation and you just are a hoover for just attention, you say whatever it takes to get attention, you spread lies, you're not going to be able to build trust. And at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to monetize. You're not going to be able to say, here's my solution, buy it, or here's my product, buy it. Right.
Yeah,
And so a really strong part of my message is you have to maintain your reputation. You can't lie. You can't spread lies. If you just say whatever it takes for attention, people are going to be able to sniff that out. People all have the innate ability to detect authenticity. And if you're just saying things, you're just spewing horseshit in order to get attention, people will be able to detect you're being a phony. They'll be able to
yeah,
detect if they detect you're being a phony, they might give you that reply and say, "Hey, F you, dude," and like give you that attention you're seeking. But then when
yeah,
you turn around and go, "Hey, buy my product, buy my solution, donate to my live stream, whatever it is," you're not going to get that because you built no trust and you got that kind of short-term dopamine hit that doesn't really mean anything. And you went for
yeah.
the short-term fix rather than the long-term fix. You see it a lot in Web3. You have a lot of desperate people who will say and do whatever it takes for a couple likes. They'll say, the contrarian take every single time just to get a couple likes, or they'll go on your space and they'll argue with you no matter what your point is in order to get like a little bit of attention. And you'll
Hmm.
get that attention, right? Because you'll piss a bunch of people off. But then when you turn around and try to build something, you try to build a movement, you try to build a piece of software, you try to build a community, you try to build something of your own, a solution to problems, no one's going to want to be a part of it because they don't trust you and they don't like you. And so at the end of the day, you have many different options. You can go out there and try to, help others. You can try to educate others. You can try to entertain others, or you can go out there and try to piss people off and get attention through any means possible. And you'll get attention with either of those routes, but only
Hmm.
one of those routes will build you the trust and reputation you need to actually build a business of your own or build a solution of your own that will give you your goals. Listen, if you got money and all you want to do is just piss people off because that makes you happy, go right ahead. For me, I come from nothing, so I want to authentically build something that attracts others so I can build a business and at the end of the day, this isn't just making money for the sake of getting rich and buying Lamborghinis. This is money so that I have the resources to build more solutions and get my message
Mm.
out to more people. And I think being authentic and telling the truth is the only way to do it.
Do you think that authenticity comes through kind of like working to define your tone of voice, or do you think it is about being as naturally as coming across as naturally as possible? I'll give you an example, and I'm gonna not pick on you, but
Pick on
you
me. I was
you're
bullied as a kid. Pick on me.
when you're creating content, I find you very funny,
Thank you.
um, but you have a very sarcastic, dismissive tone on occasion. And I'll give you a really good example. You reviewed the Rabbit AI. I don't even know what that fucking thing is. I don't know. I genuinely still don't know what it is. I've seen adverts for it. I've seen people buy it. I've seen people review it. I don't know what it's supposed to do.
It's a
That's
hunk
it.
of crap.
I,
It's
but
absolute garbage. The
but
biggest waste of $200 in my life.
right. But when you were reviewing it in a video, I laughed a lot. But you have this kind of like dismissive, kind of like, I spent $200 on it and it's absolute garbage. And I saw you also like on a bit of an Andrew Tate takedown, when you went and you reviewed the most ridiculous piece of content from his course, where he had like a chalkboard next to him or something. It was, or a whiteboard. I can't remember. It was ridiculous. So there's authenticity in it, but you're also rubbing people up. Like there'll be some people who you're rubbing them up the wrong way to kind of like antagonize a little bit and incite a reaction. How much of this is just off the top of your head, and how much have you like workshop your tone of voice? True, honestly, Alex.
Honestly, everything is top ahead. I try to script and prepare as little as humanly possible. Every
Right,
one of those videos you saw were completely improvised. I didn't script a word of it. I turn on the camera and I go. I think I've been able to improvise. I'm just a natural born improviser. I'm just better at improvising than I am scripting. When I
right,
script, I think I come off as nervous and trying to do too much. When I
yeah,
improvise, things naturally come out. I'm the most sarcastic person on planet Earth. Everyone tells me they don't know when I'm being sarcastic and when I'm telling the truth.
right,
My parents tell me that. My friends tell me it just is what it is. I also strongly believe in the power of humor. If you have a dog and you're trying to feed the dog medicine, you're trying to give it a pill, saying, "Hey, pup, here's a pill," it runs away. It doesn't want anything to do with it. But if you cover it in bread and peanut butter, that's like, "Oh yeah, give me that. I want that." It's easier for it to digest.
right,
Humor to me is that peanut butter and bread of any sort of truth. When you're able to cover it in humor, sarcasm, things like that, I think it becomes a lot more interesting and fun to digest for people. So I
mhm,
try to include humor in every single thing I do. And because I think I've been a little lucky enough to kind of improvise and be humorous on the fly, throughout my life. I try to just do it as much as possible. It makes spreading information and teaching and educating, I think, a lot more easy to digest for people by
yeah,
sprinkling in that humor and personality. And so I try to do it as much as possible. I try to improvise everything I do. When I write tweets, I sit there and just write as quick as I can, hit post without thinking too much about it because I
right.
find it comes out the best, the most authentic that way. So yeah, I'm a big proponent of like just let it rip, improvise, let your natural personality come out. If you script it and rewrite and edit it too much, I think you edit away your personality. And the
Yeah, I
more
agree with that.
exactly, the more personality, the better it is.
I also think you potentially miss the moment
Yeah.
because, and this is a thing within X, right? It's like, and it's something that you say from a reply guy point of view. There's no point reply guying 2 days later when someone's already had 3 million impressions. Like, too late. No one gives a shit about that piece of content anymore. If you're gonna make a move, you need to set notifications
Yeah.
and you need to be one of the first that comes back to the person with something that's quite insightful. And to do that, there's a real art and skill to training yourself to do that and have the confidence to hit post thinking, okay, that's it. We move on to the next one. We see if it hits or not. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. There well, especially with X, there's a real power of being in the moment. X is very much like X is the ultimate you have to be in the moment platform, right? Nothing you post will show up on the feed again after a day. 24 hours later, every piece of content from before the 24 hours is dead, never to be seen again.
Yeah.
And so everything is very current in the moment. Why is it when someone tried to assassinate Trump, X was the number one platform everyone went to? Like, why was that the platform everyone thought, oh, I got to go on X?
Hmm.
Because it is the most current in the moment platform to go for that millisecond information. And so if you want to succeed, you have to have that same sort of mindset where it's like, I got to reply to messages the moment they come out. I need to comment on things the moment they happen. It's so much about being in the moment. And that's why a lot of my advice is like, you got to be the first to it. The
Yeah.
first people posting about the assassination attempt were the ones going, crazy viral. And so that's
Mhm.
why it's a big part of the message.
We're starting to see now the difference between impressions as actually what matters versus likes, which was a real vanity metric. I think
Yeah.
that's how I'm starting to perceive things. Like the amount of likes I get really has no semblance to the quality of the content I created. If I have enough people that are just courteous and just hit like there's very little in it. Actually, all you really want is to know that people saw it,
Yes.
and it would appear X is now making the move and removing likes from the feed. I don't know enough about that, so I'd love you to let me know. Like, is that also removing the ability for someone to like something, or is it just removing that as a metric that is viewed on the feed? And also, like, just give me your take on that as an update.
Yeah, they're removing it as a metric that you can view on the feed, so you can still like things. It's gonna all be gestures, so you can, like, double tap to like you do on Instagram.
Okay.
Um, and I like it. I like that they're taking away likes. It is, you were right. Likes don't matter anymore. It's a
Mm,
vanity metric. Followers don't matter anymore. That's a vanity metric. What really matters is the quality of the content. The main metric they use to determine how many people are going to see your content is how long people view your content for, right? If you put out a piece of content and people read it beginning to end, odds are it's pretty good. So it's going to get pushed more, right? If they scroll by really quick, it's not going to be viewed much. Like the one example of that is a lot of people resort to like asking questions as their main content strategy. Like their tweets are all like one line. What do you consider success? Are you happy? Like that's just like every other tweet's a question, and they
mhm.
always get tons of likes and replies, but their impressions are always really low. The reason being is no one spends time on that. Maybe they'll give you an answer real quick because you'll get a ton of replies, but it doesn't get pushed out to many people because no one's spending time on that. It's not engaging, interesting
Okay.
content. And so that's the main metric. And likes don't, apply to that. Followers don't apply to that. It's just if we put this in front of people and everyone we put this in front of spends a long time on it, we're going to start sending this out to as many people as possible. That's the way the algorithm works. And so, yeah, they're taking likes off the timeline because they don't really matter anymore. What matters is how long people are spending on your content and how long they're consuming it for. That's the main metric.
And so content that people view for longer, as you just put it, examples of that would be a longer piece or a thread or like a
Threads,
video, like
long form video, right? They're trying to turn X into a video platform, for better or for worse, right? Little quick short form tweets, they're on their way out. They're not performing as well. I experiment all the time. My
mhm,
short form tweets never perform well. They may get a lot of likes, but they'll never get reach. And so long form posts, videos, threads, those are the winners because that's where people spend the most time. And that's what Elon wants people doing, is spending as much time as possible on each piece of content because it typically means they don't regret their time on the piece of content. And so that's where you got to go. That's what's being served up more. It's not based on the likes you're getting, it's based on how long people are spending on the content. And that's why the long form content performs so well on X.
that's really, really useful information.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. Consistency. I wanna move on to consistency before we just give you a moment to talk about 1% because I do want to understand a bit more about that as well. When it comes to consistency, like, okay, a couple of questions. One, do you pre-schedule much content?
No,
Or do you no.
I don't. I pre-write content a lot of the time, and what I mean by
Okay.
that is, like, if I'm going on vacation, I'll sit there and for, like, an hour, write as much content as I can, and then in the moment, hit tweet on it. But typically, I shifted from
You save it
scheduling
you save it in drafts.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, not technically. Technically, I save it in Apple Notes, and I have a folder in my Apple Notes for, like, finished tweets, and so when I'm ready to tweet, I'll go in that folder and, like, pick what feels the most relevant for me at the moment and hit post. I
Gotcha.
used to pre-schedule everything out, like, 10 days in advance. I've
Mhm.
moved more towards in the moment because I wanna exercise the muscle in my head of being in the moment and, like, saying things that are relevant in the moment. So I'm trying to exercise that muscle more. So I don't schedule as much anymore.
Yeah.
But I will have brainstorming sessions and like come up with concepts for tweet, put it in my Apple Notes folder, and then when I'm ready to tweet, like I'll do right after this, look at my ideas and come up with something on the fly and hit post. So less pre-scheduling, more drafting ideas, but then in the moment taking those ideas and coming up with something interesting.
And do you think the idea of writing frequently is a good one to exercise as a content creator, even though people are moving towards short form video, long form video. We're recording a podcast. I'm going to create clips out of this. But the notion of actually writing about the topics and the pillars and the nuances and the different things that you want to discuss, like getting those down, is that an important process for you?
So your brain and everything your brain does is very much a muscle. And if you don't exercise the muscles, they shrink and are weaker. But if you exercise the muscles, they get stronger. And one of those muscles is creativity. And the more you flex your creative muscle, the better it becomes. And so, like I think it was Ed Sheeran who came up with this metaphor. But your brain and your creative muscle is very much like a sink where you turn on the sink and the water comes out. When you're first getting creative, when you turn on the sink, a little bit of water dribbles out, right? And every time you turn on the sink thereafter, the water breaks kind of through the rust and the muck and the dirt in the pipes, and a little bit more water can come out, a little bit more. And soon enough, you have like a very strong flow of water coming out of the sink. But then if you
Got you.
don't write or create enough, the rust builds up and the gook inside builds up, and then only a little bit of water starts coming out again. And by writing every single day and flexing your creative muscle on the fly on a very consistent basis, you make sure that pipe is clear and a lot of water can keep coming out. And so I very much write every day. I have a notebook I write in every single day. Uh, I have a Notion. I brain dump every single day, and by doing this on a consistent basis, I make sure that sink and the pipes in the sink are clear, and the water can come out very strongly. And so, yeah, you need to be writing every day because you keep that pipe clear, and you keep it so every time you want to create, your ideas just flow out very, very quickly.
I love it. That's a great analogy. I'm curious then about 1% because this sounds a bit like the concept of like Kaizen, which I am super familiar with, which is essentially like we're not taking on other people, we're just every day taking on yesterday. And if we can grow a percent at a time, you add all of those days up, and very, very quickly that becomes super impactful to your life, your output, your progress. Give me a little bit about 1%, what it means to you. And also, because we're coming towards the end, just give the audience a view of where they can find more, etc.
I had this big awakening at 25 years old in my life. From zero to I'm 34 right now. So from 0 to 25, I legitimately thought I was very stupid. I legitimately thought I wasn't had zero skills, thought I was stupid, thought I was going to be just average my entire life. And I'd have to just like fake it my whole life in order to be successful, if I even had a shot at being successful. And I have this awakening where, I was awful in school, C minus student through all the way through college. Job fired from my first job. Like I was like, oh, I'm an idiot. Like I wasn't even like sad or depressed about it. I would just totally accept the fact I'm Alex Finn and I'm a very stupid human being. And so then I have this awakening at 25 years old where I'm at my job. It's my second job, got fired from my first. I'm like, I'm going to get fucking fired again from this job. Like, this is just a domino of like failure, 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 failure. And I get this assignment. I was working at a software company and we were trying to sell our analytics software to Grinder, a gay dating app. And the CEO comes to me, he's like, hey, I was a programmer at the time. He goes, hey, we need to build this demo app for Grinder to demonstrate our analytics. Can you build us like a demo gay dating app? And I'm like, yeah, sure. I had no idea how to program for iPhone. It was an iOS app. I had zero idea how to program an iOS app. I had a computer science degree, but it was in like, I learned Java in college.
Yeah.
And so he's like, you have a week to do it. I'm like, okay. And so I sit down, I'm like, if I fail at this, I'm fired. Like, this is going to be my next failure. I don't know how I'm going to get a job again if I'm fired from my first two jobs. This is going to be terrible. And so I hunkered down and for a week taught myself iOS, built this app, and then like gave it to the sales guys to use the demo app for Grinder. And then after the demo, they sold to Grinder like a $200,000 contract. It's massive contract. And then the CEO sent out an email to the company is like, we got the deal thanks to Alex Finn who built this app. So thank you, Alex Finn. And it was like this huge celebration. And I have this awakening at 25 years old where I'm like, I don't have my brain is not static. I was not born to be this idiot for the rest of my life. I'm an idiot right now, but if I spend the time to improve, I can actually get better. I can get smarter. I can get more interesting. I can get more charismatic. I can get funnier. Every part of me can improve if I take the time to get better. And I go home that night, literally that night after I got that email, and I start teaching myself JavaScript. I start teaching myself HTML5. I start building apps. I start doing things on the side. And ever since that point moving forward, I just started building things on the side and building apps. And like that's what my Twitter account was me just building something on the side, trying to get better content creation around
Mhm.
NFTs. And that's what blew up. And I had that awakening that if I just get a little bit better every day, 1% better every day, I can actually have no limits and build something incredible. And so that's what my mindset's been since 25 years old when I had that awakening that I just need to get a little bit better every day and I can build incredible things. And that's the only reason I have this business, which I call 1% better because it's based on that mindset. The business was built with the idea of if I can give this awakening to other people and give them to have that aha moment like I did, other people can do what I've been doing, which is building this incredible business. And so, that's been my goal. I really think if I didn't have that awakening moment at 25, I'd still be that moron. I'd still be that dunce that just is like failing at everything he does. And so my goal with my business 1% better is to give that awakening to as many people as I can. My business 1% better started off on my Twitter account, and then I built my newsletter, which is the 1% Better newsletter, which is now 30,000 subscribers. It's the number one X focused newsletter in the world. It's about growing on X, building on X. It's about self improvement. It's about, spirituality and getting your mindset right. It's about all of that. Then I have the 1% Club, which is my private community, which people join, which I do weekly calls on and, coach people and help them get better at content creation and business and entrepreneurship and technology and AI and all of that. And so it's all of that is 1% better. And it's all just based on that kind of awakening I had when I was 25 around improving yourself and how you can remove your limits by just trying to get a little bit better every day. And so that's what I live and breathe. And that's everything I do now. And that's what I'm super pumped about.
I love it. There's no you don't have to be 25 to start that process too, right? You can literally start it at 60 if you wanted to. Like there are no boundaries to just being 1% better tomorrow
You
than you
if
were
you
today.
started at 60, you'll be ahead of so many people, right? You'll just because there's a 99% of people, and this isn't hyperbolic, don't have they have static mindsets, right? At the end of the day, all this is static mindset versus growth mindset. That's all this is. This is me just, putting, fancy dressing on all of it. 99% of people though have static mindsets. They had that mindset I had for my first 25 years of my life, which was this is who I am and I'm going to continue moving forward. Like this is just who I am and I'm going to be this way forever. But the
Yeah.
1% is who have that growth mindset of every part of me I can improve. And if I put in the effort and the work, I will improve those things. And so if you start at 60, you're ahead of the 99% of people and you already have that wisdom of the last 60 years to build upon. And
Mhm.
so, obviously it's most ideal if you start this at 5 years old and you just start growing 1% better at 5 years old. God, what I would do to go back to 5 years old with this
Uh,
knowledge and, I'd
don't.
be a billionaire.
Yeah.
But no matter where you are in life, 60, 70, 80, it doesn't matter. You're already ahead of so many people if you start getting a little bit better every single day.
Alex Finn, I really, really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today. I think your journey is very unique. It's very interesting. I'm really, really grateful that I get to share it with my community and the Rug Radio community. I really appreciate you taking the time. So thank you so much.
I appreciate it, Ben. Thank you so much for having me. This was an excellent conversation. Shout out the entire Rug Radio community. I've been a part of it. I love it. Love you guys. Love all the content you're doing, and I was pumped to be here, man. So thank you very much.